Okay, hello and welcome back. Today's video is going to be part one of my malls journey, I guess. So today's video is just going to be going over my symptoms and what got me to the point of going to see this malls specialist. And then the next video will be what happened when I got there. Okay, so if you are not super familiar with malls is median acute ligament syndrome, and it's essentially just your celiac artery is compressed, and it causes a lot of pain. I think the two biggest symptoms are pain after eating and then extreme weight loss. I did not have the extreme weight loss, but that is one of the most common ones. So when I was 15, I started getting sick. I started going to the doctor, and I went to a bunch of different doctors and trying to figure out what was happening. I wasn't sick. I wouldn't have said that I was sick, but something was happening. And then when I was 16, I had a reaction to a steroid inhaler, and I never got better. I had pain and nausea every single day. At that point, I didn't know I was having pain. So, like I said, I did have symptoms before I got sick, but after getting sick, my symptoms have been, there were a lot of them. Like I said, pain, nausea. Obviously, I have anxiety. My OCD's gotten worse. I have had migraines, joint pain. I've now learned that the pain I experience, a lot of it within my body. I've had stabbing hand pain, that is nerve pain. Orthostatic intolerance. So I have a lot of lightheadedness. If I stand up too quickly, my vision will go entirely black or it'll go blurry. I have asthma, so my breathing has gotten worse. My allergies have gotten worse, which I do think potentially is just age related. They started getting worse when I was 14. Vertigo, but it's not vertigo because nothing technically moves, so it's not technically vertigo. Eye issues, I have dyslexia, that has all gotten worse. My hands are always cold. I have rib pain, and I have no idea, but I have pain in my ribs on the sides. I obviously have the malls pain. It's right here, especially after eating. I have a lot worse than the pain. Ignore that I'm doing this in the dark. I've had brain fog. Couldn't tell. I've had tics. A new stutter. I've had tics for a long time, but stutter's worse. Constipation, that was one of the first things. And then more recently, diarrhea. My sensory issues have gotten really bad. I've also developed medical trauma, so issues. The pain I went over, but if I get too hot, if I exercise, if I eat, if I don't eat, I have other symptoms. I also did develop a fear of food just because eating is so unpleasant. And then I've also reacted to more foods, so I've always reacted to gluten, and now I react to corn. I can't eat a bunch of things. I couldn't eat fermented foods for a while. So I've had a lot of issues with food and my digestive system. So after December 21st, 2023, that is when I got sick. After that, and this is where we really get into what happened. So I reacted to a steroid inhaler. Super fun time. Never went back to that allergist, but I went to my doctor. I was like, you need to help me. She ran a blood work. She was like, I will not refer you to a GI. It's your anxiety. Take a antidepressant. I was like, need a GI, so I went and found a new doctor. And then my primary care doctor, who is still my primary care doctor, she referred me to a GI. And so he is no longer my GI just because I am no longer a child. But he did an endoscopy, so I saw him. I basically just lived with it. She prescribed me an anti-nausea. Actually, my original primary care also prescribed me an anti-nausea, but I had to wait 6 months. I don't know what I did those 6 months. I could not tell you. He did an endoscopy, which if you don't know, an endoscopy is a colonoscopy, but down your throat into your stomach. That's what it is. So I had pain after that in my stomach. Oh, you're not supposed to have that apparently, but they didn't really do anything. We chose not to do a colonoscopy. Everything was fine. There was nothing. I had a bunch of tests wasn't some form of IBD. I mean, they can't really confirm that without a colonoscopy, but there was no reason to think it. So I went and I saw a neurologist. She was horrible. I did not take medication for that she gave me. We did not have a good time with her, but still, we weren't like, there wasn't really anything to think that there was anything really neurological going on. It's just that I have migraines. I don't know if this was the first medication I took, but since they thought I had IBS, they were giving me IBS medications this throughout a very long time, basically up until my most recent doctor's appointment. They don't work, because that's not my problem. That's not saying anything to my doctors. I love them. They're so grateful, or I'm so grateful for them. Then I got sent to a rheumatologist. Yeah, that was a whole thing. We determined that I'm hypermobile, and then we also, he determined that I have central sensitization syndrome, which I do agree with. I just want to say before I get into this, I do agree. I do think that's correct. There's no reason to doubt that. But essentially how it was explained to me is that something happened in my life, like a traumatic experience, and my brain kind of like got a little overreactive, so I overreact to things that aren't there, so there's nothing wrong with my body. Basically, he said that it was causing me to be sick, but in all reality, it was caused by my sickness, which was unhelpful. It just resulted in a lot of gaslighting from doctors and myself, which was not good. I completely stopped believing that I experienced pain, and this was around the time where I started realizing that I was experiencing pain. I started realizing that pain, like, that is what is happening. It's not the nausea. It is, well, there is nausea, but I'm in so much pain that I'm experiencing nausea. And then I found out that I was anemic. I don't know that I was anemic at this point. Actually, yes, I was. So I am prone, maybe not prone, I don't know. I had, for a long time, a while, iron deficiency without anemia, which just means that my ferritin is low. Typically, they just check your hemoglobin. You technically have to have low hemoglobin in order to have anemia, so I didn't have anemia. But I had low iron, which comes with what you would imagine. Did get that figured out. Also, if you eat ice and you're like, no, I'm not iron deficient, yeah, you are. I hate to tell you, you are. And then I had a colonoscopy. That did not go well. My body was not cool with it. I went to the ER, so much pain, didn't do anything. They were so unhelpful. Yeah. I literally just sat in the ER and suffered instead of in my house. It was bad though. Pretty soon after, I would say, I think pretty quick after that, my doctor sent me to get an ultrasound, which is how we found out that I probably had moles. And then right before the colonoscopy, I started having worse tics. I've had tics, I've noticed since I was 14. I've been told since before that. And then I also developed a stutter right before, probably due to stress. So that was happening. And then December 10th of 2025, I had my first verbal tic. Weird to think of. Anyway, that's pretty recent actually. In December, we also had to decide whether or not I was going to go, where I was going to go. I'm happy with the doctor I chose to go to, but it was just like an insurance thing. So while I was waiting, because I did have to wait quite a while, just trying to figure everything out with the referral, I tried a new med, also didn't do anything. I still have that med, sometimes I take it, typically doesn't work. We're just getting worse, which I will say at this time I completely glossed over. Throughout all of this, I was going to different psychologists and getting testing, and at this point I was on an antidepressant that I did come off of just due to the fact that it was making my tics worse. I'm waiting for the referral. I don't remember how long it took. honestly. Then before that appointment, I ended up getting the flu. My body can't handle the flu anymore, really, unfortunately, and I had shaking of my hands, and that's never gone away. I've had worse symptoms the entirety of this year, and it's currently April as of filming this. Alright, and in case anyone was like curious what my diagnoses have been throughout, this is my entire life, every diagnosis I have. I was 11, I got diagnosed with anxiety. When I was, just to say this, I have had most of these long before I actually got diagnosed. So I was 14 or so when I got diagnosed with asthma. I was 17 for migraines. Dyslexia was 17. OCD was 17. Hypermobility was 17. Central sensitization syndrome, I was 17. So for allergies, I got diagnosed when I was like 14, and then again I think when I was 15, and then again at 16. I have like grass, ragweed, cats. Yeah. I was also 14 when I got diagnosed with oral allergy syndrome, so I react to fruits and vegetables. Not because I'm allergic to them themselves, but because I'm allergic to grass and ragweed. I noticed my tics when I was 14. I've been told that I had them before, and then, I mean, I have a diagnosis, kind of. I don't have a diagnosis of Tourette's, but, I probably qualify. Well, I will. I don't think I've had verbal tics long enough. And then I got moles. I got the ultrasound November 21st, 2025, and then I got the actual diagnosis April 6th, 2026. And then the thing I haven't gotten diagnosed is stutter, but like no one's questioning that. Okay, sorry this is so chaotic, but I forgot to film an outro. So that was basically how I figured out that I had moles and got an appointment with the specialist. The next video will be what happened when I went to the specialist. It'll be the nerve block, which is one of the diagnostic tools they use. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. If you liked, please subscribe, like, I don't know. It's been a long time since I made a long form video, but yeah, I'm excited to share this. Bye.